we didn't receive any. Okay. Approval of minutes from April 14th, 2025. Would I need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or suggested revisions for those minutes? All in favor? And reports and updates.
So, happy Mom's Day for all the moms. I hope you had a lovely day yesterday in the sunshine and a little bit of breeze. Kind of kept the bugs down, but with all this rain, black fly season's going to be the superintendent's update. When we start with our service promise, this is interrupting educational inequities and creating schools where every child and staff member thrives, one conversation at a time. Our April enrollment remained steady from last month to this month. As I shared at the last meeting, I'll be adding the HCTC enrollment. That usually stays pretty steady, but a reminder, we have 57 students, 33 of those for the morning session and 24 returning. And that's a pretty high number and one of the highest in the county in terms of student participation at HCTC. So I think that's really good for our students, and it maybe speaks a lot to the taste they get here, and then they get to go deeper when they go to HCTC. Staffing updates. There's a lot of things. It's like shifting sand. So as things change and maneuver, probably the best place to go is that link. If you were to go to my update, which, as a reminder, the updates are put up on the AOS website. They sit on the right side, and you can click through the notes, and that link is there, or you can just go to the website and go to the link. But I just wanted to make sure that it's available. But we have positions across all the schools, but we're getting candidates, which is interesting. And I'll share a little bit more about some of the people who are applying, and that's in one of my other slides around staff spotlight. But folks are getting hired, and that's some of it. There's some movement between schools, but we are bringing in folks from outside as well. And speaking with the other superintendents, they're actually seeing a few more numbers in their positions than they had in previous years. So it seems to be the same, at least across the county, in terms of having more folks looking for positions. And so the highlights from the last month across all of our schools was the prom on Saturday, which is held over at the Regency. Folks may have heard walking in, they're practicing the lines for Cyrano, which Mark Puglisi is directing, and that opens on the 16th. So they are still prepping the stage and the equipment and running through their lines right now, so that's exciting. And as you see our setup, some of the custodial staff thought that this would be reminiscent of our times at school with our desks. And but this is set up for the advanced placement test, so they were doing some of those last week and this week. So the library is used, so the desks were set up in rows for students taking their tests. Over at the Ashley Bryan School, there's the Island CTE, and CTE is Career and Technical Education, and they twice a year do work with the Boatworks organization there on Islesford, and the work that they're doing right now is moving the garden shed and refurbishing it, which was on the right side of the Ashley Bryan School. They're moving it to the left side where the garden is, and I was there on Friday when they were practicing some of their skills of moving a shed. So they were taking off some of the material on the side, some of the wood that had rotted, and folks at Boatworks had already cut logs so that it would roll really easily on the sled underneath. And so after they winched it out. The kids pulled it on the rollers, and it was sort of like Roman times. So they would have to move the roller to the front and keep pulling as they moved it all the way around. And so this is something that primarily the kids do on Fridays. They work with booklets and do a variety of things. And I just couldn't help myself in sharing this. So it's very exciting to watch them. They're all working hard. And so, let's get back on. And so students also participated in the community beach cleanup around the island. And starting on Wednesday, they are going down to the TLC, Teaching and Learning Collaborative, the spring gathering in Freeport on Wednesday the 14th. They'll be going to the desert in Maine and a couple other places, and then meeting with students at other island schools and having ending the week with activities with them. So that's exciting for them. Over at Connors Emerson, I had the opportunity to go to the family culture night, and families and staff had signed up to sort of showcase their family's heritage and culture. The gym was packed with people. You got a little passport as you went around. Everything from food to dancing to discussions about sports and inventions that may have come from that particular heritage or part of the world. And it was just really fun to see how excited the children were to sort of talk about their heritage. And there were some folks who are staff here who are also family members there and sort of talking about that. It was just a really exciting night. It was jam-packed, and so that was fun. And I was able to visit 3 different countries, so I have my passport to prove it. They have 2 8th grade young women participated in the Natural History Day competition in Orono and doing play on the women of the French Revolution. And so they did really well there, and 3rd graders visited the Old Yellow Schoolhouse and the Grand Mount Dessert. Over in Trenton, they are doing their COGAT testing for gifted and talented in grades 2 and 5. Also happening on Wednesday is something I have never heard of. I did the Whales on Wheels program when I was a student at College of the Atlantic, and we would go around and present that, the whale bones, and talk about the ecology and biology of whales. And then they also had the movable moose, and I did the movable moose for a number of years. But this thing is quite incredible. If you want to look it up, within the whales, an inflatable whale fits inside the gym, and students walk inside. And so bones and parts are in there as you go through, and so that will be, it's a humpback whale, and so they talk about the natural history and ecology of whales, and that'll be happening at Trenton on Wednesday. And this year they are wrapping up their first year in the statewide PBIS cohort, which is sort of working on strengthening the culture within their school, and so they've gone through the checklist of things that they needed. A big part of the first year is acknowledgement and finding ways to acknowledge students and staff and the work that they do. And they have been continuing some of the things that have been started in the past, school-wide meetings and opportunities like that to sort of highlight the good deeds that kids are doing. Over at Pematic, middle schoolers helped their pre-K, K, and 1st grade friends plant flowers for parents to bring home, for kids to bring home for Mother's Day. Last week was teacher appreciation, and so I remember last year we talked about it, and so the Woot Woot Wagon was out and about again this year, and the Woot Woot Wagon has drinks and snacks and food and other trinkets just to sort of lighten the mood for teachers and help them feel appreciated, and PTO members drive that around the school to go to classes. And the 5th graders, as well as the other 5th graders across the district, took part in the Outdoor Safety Day at CBC, and that was last Friday. Over on Swans Island, the middle schoolers participated in the Island Readers and Writers program with Pematic students, so they came over on the boat and did that with the sister school. And the Swans Island will be hosting the 4th grade day on May 20th, welcoming other 4th graders from across the district to participate in activities. They go to the lighthouse, learn a little bit about the island, but it also just another time for our students across the district to get to know each other as 4th graders. not necessarily from a particular town, and just sort of be fourth graders together on the island. I know I had an opportunity to partake in that as assistant principal at Connors Emerson many years ago, and it was just a wonderful time, especially if you have a beautiful day to sort of go out there and spend time on the beach and then do all the various activities that the school sets up for kids. Over at Mount Desert, their upcoming spring concert will be featuring a song by a composer, and Heather Dorr sort of talked about it at the board meeting last week, and this composer sort of wrote this piece, and it spoke to what it means to overcome, and some students have been doing some writing about what that means. And so the concert is sort of a mix of, there'll be some concert and then this experience of what it means to overcome. So a really neat interdisciplinary piece going on there. The 8th graders presented to the board their class trip. They're going to the Canyon St. Anne over in Canada, so that's exciting. And they're preparing for their traditional hike and bike events that are part of the end of the year. And over in Tremont, they had an artist in residence. Alexis Lamarino has been leading sessions for Arts Week, and I think she's there again this week, working with students. The drama program performed Willy Wonka. They've been working on that for a big part of the year. And the kindergarten held their learning celebration, which they do every year at the end of the year. So a lot of wonderful things happening at our schools, both academically and then celebrating and connecting with our community partners, which is sort of a big part of our school district, and the access to those resources that we have is actually quite wonderful. Budgets, we are now, I think there's six down, 4 to go.
Yep.
Is that what it is? And as a reminder, and so far our budgets are passing at the individual town meetings. A reminder that our insurance rate came in, and that was at 3.16. But I think with some of the uncertainty, we're going to hold that within our budgets as we move for next year. Next week, or this week, we have Tremont tomorrow, and then next week is Trenton, and then we skip a week, and then it's Bar Harbor, and then the last one is June 18th out of Frenchboro. And one of the things I did highlight on this slide, I just put together all of the budgets, their budget-to-budget increases, and the assessment, and just sort of did an average to get a sense of what that looks like across the AOS. And so the budget-to-budget increase on average is 9%, and the appropriation is 8%. And that's pretty much what other schools are seeing across Hancock County and elsewhere. That's that typical. So when you put all of ours together with all the various changes that are going on, when you put us all together, we're about what folks are looking at in other parts, at least of Hancock County. MDI RSS updates. Wanted to make you aware, and I think we talked about it a little bit in the past, and Ruth came and spoke, is that Ruth, who is the high school science teacher and sustainability coordinator, received a Maine Climate Education Grant to work with Climate to Thrive to convene a Green Schools Working Group to mitigate fossil fuel emissions, increase building and transportation efficiency, reduce waste, and strengthen climate and environmental literacy in all of our schools. Part of that grant is going to supporting an energy audit for this building in particular, but we are also working with BIM's Building Information Management Systems, which is a subsidiary of Mechanical Services, and they do work with schools across the state of Maine and taking a look at particularly air quality. They were here last year and just did a quick test here at the high school, Pennatic, Tremont, Mount Desert, just to get a sense of particularly just CO2 levels. But now they're going to be coming around and doing all of our, particularly all the elementary schools, to sort of help us start to sort of build what our current infrastructure is in fresh air for in schools, and what things we need to do over a period of years to upgrade that at our other schools. And so I'll be talking a little bit about that, and probably once we have the results, have them come and talk about it Probably the easiest to talk about it at the AOS school board overall and what they get from the different schools, and get a sense of our mechanical systems and what they're producing right now. So that's some exciting times in sort of thinking about our environment and our community and making sure we're being good stewards. And then I also wanted to highlight, believe it or not, we are moving forward on the 26-27 AOS calendar. And when we voted for our calendar this year, we sort of talked about putting that committee together early. It's made up of Jessica Stewart and Mike Kears from the board, Rhonda Fortin from the central office, Jandria, Crystal, and Matt as principals, Shannon Westfall from Dessert, and Tennille Moore here at the high school as teacher representatives, and Selena and myself. And we really started 2 weeks ago, really with just a blank calendar, putting in the holidays, but then reviewing the sheet of what are the things, what are the must-dos. So those must-dos would be, okay, so how are we constrained by state and the things we have to put in there? How are we constrained by our collective bargaining agreement, PD days, and parent-teacher conferences? And slowly building that together as getting a sense of all the different pieces that sort of make up a calendar. It's actually going to really be exercise. And we are taking a look at our early release days, and I asked the committee to do homework. They had to read some of the work that the curriculum office and myself did when we made that proposal originally, with some of the history and then some of the information on why early releases are important for teaching and learning in our perspective. And so they're going to all read that as part of that conversation of what that might look like as we move forward. And then we'll be doing some gathering of information. But it's been really nice to sort of think about the potential of maybe having something before the end of the year that we would be able to present before the end of 2025 to folks early on that had some thoughtful research done to it, and that meets the needs of students and families and teachers. So that's sort of been fun to get rolling. And then the staff spotlight listed our pre-K-8 common study leaders that are coming in for a new 3-year term. Last month I sort of congratulated those folks who were in our last round for the last 3 years. So very exciting to see the names of the folks who will be sort of taking over and moving that work forward. Wanted to highlight Cecily Garrity, kindergarten at Mount Desert. She was invited by the Maine Department of Education to be a teacher leader for statewide training for the K for Me curriculum. A bunch of folks within our schools that we were looking at the pre-K for Me, K for Me, 1 and 2 for Me curriculums that the state has provided that really focus on the developmental needs of students and what that looks like in classrooms. And actually some of our teachers will be traveling down to Brunswick in their Kate Ferber School, I believe is the name of it, the K2 school. They have been doing the For Me curriculum and are going to welcome some folks down to take a look at what that looks like in their classrooms. And then I wanted to highlight Megan Letty. She is a special ed tech here at the high school. I got a note from UMO. As a graduate from UMO, you get these little notes that come along, and she received the Dean's Award, which is goes to graduates who have overcome some adversity, and she will be graduating with a degree in elementary education with a specialization in special education. So, a lot of our staff work really hard on classes to sort of go beyond what they're doing, and so Megan is a representative of those folks who continue to learn and think about doing something more than what they're doing currently. And then I wanted to just sort of share a teacher appreciation excerpt that I sent out to staff that sort of came from my experience at the Southwest Harbor town meeting, and also a recognition that a lot of the folks that we're getting applications from are former students of this institution who are applying for positions. And so that really made me sort of think. And so from that, I had just wrote the note that at the Southwest Harbor town meeting, a senior from the community was discussing their support for the Southwest Harbor Library. And during that comment, she sort of spoke to the large role the library plays in her life sort of now as a senior, but that she still holds education as the most important thing that our civic bodies do, and that she has steadfast support for education regardless if she has kids or not, because it's so important in a democratic society. And I think that kind of deep-seated support truly reflects the years of dedicated service that our teachers and educational professionals pour in year after year to nurture our students. You ensure they are well prepared for the wider world and empowered to contribute positively to our community. Adding to this sense of gratitude, this is why I sort of noticed a heartwarming trend recently of multiple applications from former students of this very district. These are individuals who have chosen to return to the community they grew up in, and it's quite possible their decision to pursue education was sparked by the inspiring work that each of our teachers does within their schools. And reflecting on these connections, I felt it necessary to take a moment to thank all of our teachers and embrace the role that they play, the role of the role teachers play in meaningful ways. You support, challenge, nurture, and cherish the students before you every single day. Thank you for your support to our students and families. So sometimes you get a spark during these times when you're celebrating people, and those two things kind of came together, and I was like, oh, in a really meaningful way. And so for reorganization, we have a meeting on Wednesday, looking at school reserves, how to sort of utilize those within any proposal. And the link is there for the website. I also linked the organizational flyer. I think I sent that out to everybody, so you had a copy of it. And I have little packets of 50 that if folks want them to put in town offices or places like that, so people can get them and look at that. There is a survey on it for folks so we can start gathering some feedback on how people are feeling. And this was developed with a subset of the RPC and trying to sort of get information out there about the basics of what people need to know and sort of the three areas that we're looking at in reorganization, meaning how our schools are organized, governance, and then sort of economics. And then sort of reviewing the why now and some of the goals that we're looking for. So that's available for folks. And last but not least, the school board corner or legislative update. I don't know if folks heard about that there's a people's veto. The legislature passed a budget. However, a people's veto started, which is its goal is to repeal the budget. And if that happens, then that would shut down the government, which means all aid that flows through the DOE that comes to schools would be shut down. But it also means that payments to hospitals and police departments and other state agencies would shut down. And so it's really important that people really honor their public institutions, that they sort of think about this if they were to see or be asked to sign. And so the threshold is 67,000 signatures, and that has to be, they have to get that by June 18th. So I just wanted to put that on folks' radar as it's been talked about quite a bit within the superintendent's meetings. And then there were two other bills that are making it to the legislature that are most likely to pass when they start voting. One of those is an act to ban cell phones for public school classrooms. And right now that bill has in it that what will happen is the legislature will vote to say that schools have to create a policy around cell phone use and the implementation details. I think the bill started as a complete ban, but I think discussion with various parties sort of talked about the importance of local control within our communities, and that should be something that each individual school board should set as a policy. We have procedures in our middle schools and procedures here at the high schools that sort of look at that, but this is then putting it up to the policy level, so we will most likely be seeing that again in coming around. And then the other one was an act regarding temperature standards in schools, and this will most likely pass, which will come before the policy committee for both, this is for interior temperature, both minimum and maximum temperature standards. And so once that comes around, I'm sure we will be talking to nurses and staff and trying to get a sense of what that looks like. But those will be things that we're going to be asked to do as school systems. And I want to say it was back in October or November where I shared in one of my updates, and maybe I will link it here, is the legislative bulletin that the Maine School Boards Association, Maine School Management and Maine School Boards Association is putting out. Robbie Feingold, who formerly at Maine Public Radio is now working as a liaison in the Governmental Affairs Office of those organizations to keep school board members and school officials up to date to what bills are coming. And I can re-link that here, so you can easily go there and see what's coming up and maybe make testimony if you like along those lines. And then didn't forget about new school board orientation. Just a reminder, we got to wait for everyone to get voted in. And as soon as that happens, usually it's the end of June and July where I will do that with staff. I have been handing out the MDI school board handbook, so new members can at least sort of read through sort of the code of ethics and public participation. And then I've also been handing them a little slideshow that I do on sort of budget 101 that sort of reviews the budget process, how we lay them out, and then also what vouchers look like and what we're looking for when we look at those. And then we do go through all of that once I have everybody together. And that will be open if anybody wants to come. It's not just for new school board members, so I'll make sure that that date is out there for all of the members. Yeah, and that's everything.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mike or comments? All right, and on to directors of teaching and learning.
Mike, can I take the screen?
Going.
I gotta pick this up because I always forget how to say MedSec. I'm just going to highlight one of the aspects in the May note, which was talking about next year's professional development with Amanda Wilson. And her company is called Navigating Behavior Change, and I'll show her website in a moment here. But this really comes from a lot of our kind of post-COVID noticings that behaviors were just a little more difficult to work with. Things were changing, and the old tools we had weren't quite working anymore. And so as a result, our district started new training, kind of reinvigorating training on what we call responsive classroom. So we did that about a couple of years ago. And the idea there is to be proactive, create trauma-informed, safe, inclusive spaces for all students, right? So that's sort of like your baseline, tier 1. And then now we're layering on, okay, we've done that work. We've worked on it for a couple years now, and we're still seeing some challenging behaviors. Now what? So we happen to benefit from some state-driven training. So MADSAC and the Maine Principals Association, we're hearing this across the state as well, not just our district. And they found Amanda Wilson and brought her to the state. And so a team of us actually attended her trainings this past year. Melissa and Kathy in the back attended. Our social worker attended. A few principals attended. Heather Webster, Heather Dorr, Christine Gray. We had some behavior specialists in our district attend and some guidance counselors. I know I'm missing some folks, but we had a pretty good cross-section of people attend, and the program was called Responding to Dangerous Behavior. And there was quite an interest by that group attending, saying, you know, this person will be perfect to address our needs in this district. So let's see if we can get her. And we did. And her name is Amanda Wilson. And I'm just going to read a little bit of her mission from the website here, from Navigating Behavior Change. Our mission, our primary goal at Navigating Behavior Change is to assist educators in teaching, working with, and improving the lives of students who exhibit challenging behavior. We are committed to disseminating the science of behavior through professional development, courses, and consultation. Our work is founded upon research and evidence-based practices which assist educators in taking a comprehensive, holistic approach to creating classrooms and schools that not only promote positive behaviors, but foster happy, engaged, and independent learners. We know that true long-term behavior change requires the participation of a team of adults, and we are proud to be able to provide support to teachers, administrators, school psychologists, behavior analysts, related service providers, and paraeducators. So she really has a lot to offer. Her organization has a lot to offer. The timing of this is a little interesting. She's just launching her book, Navigating Behavior Change, and we've got first dibs on the book this summer when it releases. But really what we did is invited her to talk with the team of folks who attended her training, because it was almost like at the extreme end, because it was talking about like dangerous behavior. We wanted to get to, okay, we've got our base one, including, creating great inclusive classroom environments. We're proactive in our behavior work. Next level, okay, what are we doing things that are challenging? Not quite dangerous yet, but the challenging part. So we're kind of building on our skill set there. And we made sure to invite the high school because they didn't attend the first trainings, and we wanted to make sure that the high school experience and voice was heard. She listened to us, and she's tailor-making some PD sessions on our behalf. It's going to be our comprehensive work all year. All of our PD days are dedicated to her. She's going to come in person in August. We're going to do some virtual follow-ups midway through the year, and she'll come in person again in March. That is the work. So we're just trying to hone what we've been doing so far, get more skilled, put in more strategies, and just get better at it. And we're pretty excited to have her. I know funding is always a question right now, and we've got money for her. We made sure that she's priority number one, and we've got her within our budget. And she's reasonable, which is even better. It's not always the case when we have outside consultants that they tend to be very expensive, and she's reasonably priced. We thought she was very practical, and we're excited to bring her to our district next year. We also don't see this as a one-year process. She does coaching as well, and she'll be working with individual principals in their schools to address particular needs in their buildings. So we are looking at this as definitely a 3-year thing, maybe a 5-year project, we're not sure. But we're kind of putting all our chips in this direction, and working to empower our teachers to feel more confident and able to support students with this. So that's pretty much it. Any questions on that?
For those of you I don't yet know, I am Gail Marshall, once again on the school board for the 3rd time's a term. So this is great. This sounds great. We all probably realize that kids are not the cause; they're sort of the symptom, and their behavior is sort of the symptom. And so, what conversations do you have about including the broader community and the parents, not just in one by one, but this? There's some larger issues going on there in our culture. Do you have a perception about how that came out?
Not yet. We are just starting this work, but I think that's probably an important first question to be thinking about with our A-team administrative team is how are we broadening this up? You're right, because it comes from home and it comes into our spaces, and then we don't have a lot of control over that, but we do have the power to open our doors and educate, right? So how are, as we're learning, how are we expanding our new learning? Because we're all on our defaults as well. This is how we were raised, this is how we behave, this is how we was taught. Now we're learning new science, like, hey, that's not working anymore, we've got to try something new. And then how are we then going to broaden that information? So I would say that's part of the long-term thinking and planning, and I'll incorporate that in the notes for my chats with Amanda. It's a good point and question. I also think it weaves into, though, our vision of a graduate conversations that we've been having, and that's what I will be reporting out on next month. We're just beginning to draft on that. So, Gail, I don't remember where you fall into the information here, but I'll start from the beginning. This past year, we had community-based conversations that we opened to the public. We had over 70 community members attend in person. We've also had a virtual option, and then we had a form option, and I've got, I think, up to 45 form completions at this point. We also had over 100 student conversations contribute to what we're hoping is going to be our document that guides us in our programming and curriculum development from here on out. And behavior is very much, newsflash, incorporated into the document, and it's something we see not only as being a school responsibility, but a community responsibility. We're working together with this. So how that lives and breathes after we craft it, that's sort of the next challenge. So I think the two go together, though.
Right.
Thank you. Discussion items, we're going to be listed, but I don't know if you have discussion items. Now we'll move on to our single action item, second reading and adoption of revisions to policy IGA, curriculum development and adoption. If I could get a motion and a second.
Second.
Thank you. Jill.
I was going to say this is cleaning up of our older policy to sort of align with some of the new thinking and to sort of clarify the curriculum development process. That's something that we do collectively, but it also highlights the vision of the graduate in there in terms of what are the documents that we're using that will drive those decisions. And so this process of starting with the vision of the graduate is sort of laying the groundwork for then taking a look at our mission, taking a look at our vision, and we look at moving forward, and then that will drive our work moving forward to take a look at those documents that help us sort of make decisions about our programming in our schools. And so the mission of the graduate was the first step. We're making sure that it was incorporated in here as sort of part of that process.
Were there any questions you come?
Curious. We haven't really heard about what the outcome of the vision of the graduate is. Does it make sense for us to be revising and adopting something that includes that?
It's going to be the vision of a graduate is going to be, I think, whatever it ends up being. And I've looked through it; it's actually pretty good. I think you'll all be pretty pleased in terms of helping to drive. So that might change. In the vision of a graduate might change, and that's, I think, a document that is enduring and breathing, and that might be something that might have that name, and after 5 or 10 years, you might go through another process, and then at least have that sort of a thing that drives all the other pieces that flow from that. So it may not be that particular vision of the graduate, but the idea that we're using that tool as a way of helping us sort of make decisions.
Is there another question?
If the board may already know this, so if they do, you can just exit. But I would find it useful to, at some point in the future, whenever it's appropriate, for the board to become informed about what the process is that the school goes through to routinely renew and refresh curriculum. So do we know, for example, how you do, not in excruciating detail, but do we understand that there is a process and what that process is?
We piloted that process for the 7th grade ELA curriculum last spring, and it's something that we want to then bring to the other content areas. And so that would be something we can sort of share what that looked like, and then what that would look like for. We haven't gotten to the step of saying, okay, now we're going to do it in this content area, and then go back and take a look at that process and make any sort of revisions based on the group that followed it. But it seemed to be a useful tool in that sort of collaborative way of taking a look at curriculum with teachers and administrators in the rooms together, thinking about what would be the best tools to use, and in particular, we use it for the middle school curriculum.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about you telling us what you do in every subject area, but just generally speaking, how do you approach curriculum and ongoing development?
Yeah, we can put that on a future agenda.
If it would be helpful to others as well.
Is that a June thing or is that a?
Oh, no, no, no.
Yeah, just
Sorry,
trying
that
to.
wasn't, I was thinking long term.
Okay, long term, gotcha.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's something. When it fits in.
I'm just curious if we have an expected date for when the vision of a graduate materials are gonna be available for us to look at.
June 1st, June note.
Oh, sorry.
We're gonna put the draft out in the June note, and teachers will have an opportunity to give praise, polish, feedback. And then we'll have the final version in August.
So are we're just accepting the framework of the vision of the graduate, not the guts of the vision of the graduate, as part of our.
I would
I
say,
struggle with the vision of the graduate, so.
I would
I
say
haven't read your thing, but.
it's the same as like, I think about it like the learning results, which sometimes go through revision, and that's listed in here, that we utilize that. And our mission and vision change over time, and that's in some of our other policies that sort of talk about that we're utilizing those two. And of course, the vision of a graduate is something that you're all gonna partake in. So it's, I think, just like you said, I think I'm seeing it as the, I forgot the structure, but yes, the framework. Yeah.
Okay, no question, we have a motion and a second, all in favor? All right, thank you. Other business, we have a couple of new members tonight. We're gonna be getting new members kind of on a regular basis for the next couple months. I thought we'd maybe take the opportunity to do some introductions. So maybe I'll have the two new members that are here just introduce themselves briefly, and then we'll go around the room and we can let them know who we are. So we will start with Andrew.
Sure. Hi everybody, I'm MDIRSS. I live on Beach Hill Road in Sonesville. I've been on Island for about 4 years. I work remotely for a nonprofit public health institute that's headquartered in Augusta, doing various healthcare improvement projects. I have a first grader and a kindergartner at MDIRSS and a 3-year-old on his way getting closer to school, not next year though, unfortunately. My wife is a family medicine physician in Southwest Harbor, Dr. Neal. Yeah, we love it here.
She's our dog. Yeah.
Gail Marshall.
I'm Gail Marshall. This is my third time around the sun. I served for 9 years and then I took about a decade break, and then I was asked to come back to fill a vacancy, and I did that, and then I thought I was done, and then the election happened and I decided maybe I wasn't. So I'm back, for better or worse. I live in Sonesville as well. In times past, some of you would have said, "Oh, your husband is my doctor," but not anymore. He's retired, and I have a child who's graduated, who's far beyond school at this point. So I'm glad to be back, and I hope to help in any way I can protect our schools and our children.
All right, and then maybe start Misha. We'll go around.
I'm Misha Maitar. I'm part of the Far Harbor School Committee, and I've been around for a couple years now. Still consider myself a little bit new.
Catherine Emery. My daughter Tessa is in her freshman year at school, and I also consider myself to be learning great amounts and am honored to be in good company.
I am Katie Doobie. I am an officer. I've got 2 kids.
Carrie Hayes, Chair of the Tremont School Board, also on the high school trustees. And I have a graduate from a couple years ago and a graduating senior this year.
Nancy Barlow, I'm the business manager for the district. Actually, I have grandchildren in the schools now in Fremont.
you. I'm Mike Zagori, the superintendent, and a shout out to Swans Island. Kate Chapman is a new board member over on Swans Island, and Jeannie Thompson is a new board member for the Cranberry Island Schools. We were reminded that Jock Taylor was voted in Southwest Harbor, but he'll start July 1st. In Southwest, and then we'll have votes in Tremont. I think anybody is
Jessica Bass is running, but she's uncontested.
And then Trenton, they had 2 spots open. No one took out papers, so we'll see what happens. And then we will be moving on. I think was there one other, and Tyson is on the ballot and running again. So see, and then Frenchboro, I don't know right now. They have 2 board members. I don't know if they're going to go for the 3 yet in where they are. But yeah, I'll know after June 18th.
Me, you know, with Matt.
I'm Maria. Gail, we've met before, actually, different capacity. So, welcome. I'm year 2, so I'm learning a lot, and I'm part of the Heritage Southwest Harbor Committee, and I've got to voice in elementary school.
I'm Susan Allen. I'm also in the Southwest Harbor School Committee and chair of the high school board. I have an 8th grader and a senior in high school, and I graduated from this high school. And MDIRSS. My name is Lily Sinis. I am currently the chair of Bar Harbor for 1 more month. I've been on the board for 9 years. I'm stepping aside to focus my energies to try to raise some funds to help offset the cost of the school in Bar Harbor. I've been on the reorganization committee. I have 4 children that graduated from MDIRSS high school. I wasn't gonna say it. I really am gonna miss sitting around this table, but come back, boys girl.
I'm Tyson Starling on the Bar Harbor committee. As mentioned, I'm hopefully going to still be here, but we'll see after the election results. I have a daughter in grade 8 coming here next year, so I really, really enjoying it. I ran for the same reasons probably you do, because sometimes we don't have people on those ballots, and it's really frustrating to see that. So.
I'm Bo Wisely. I'm Southwest Harbor Committee, and I have 2 kids. One's a junior, and the other one is graduating this year. She's a senior, and happy to be here.
Aaron Brown. I'm board chair for Trenton. I think I'm in my 8th year. I think. I have a senior here and a freshman here, and a 5th grader in Trenton.
Stephanie Schottenberg, in my 1st year on the Trenton School Board. I have 2 boys. One is currently in kindergarten, and the other will start pre-K in the fall.
And I'm Julie Koblinski, Director of Teaching and Learning, grades 7 through 12. My counterpart, Rhonda, had some, couldn't be here tonight, but I'm covering for her, and she'll be here next time. I have 2 boys. One chose to come here. They had choice. I live in Ellsworth, and so I'm a 2020 grad from MDI, and the other one went to Ellsworth.
Thank you. Future agenda items.
We'll have central office staff dues and that's all that I have. We'll see what comes.
Okay, one more chance at public comment. Everybody can hear from the public. And next meeting is 6, but the agenda is out to us, we'll have that, and motion for adjournment. Second, sorry. All right, all in favor?